Hello everyone, Theron here today, and I'm going to be going over the 3 keys to a bigger bench press. Number 1 being the elbow tuck and flare, number 2 being proper bar path, and number 3, your scapular retraction. So let's get right to it. Alright, so let's break this into 2 parts. Let's talk about the elbow tuck first. When I bring the bar down for the eccentric portion of the movement, I'm looking to have my wrist right over my elbows at all times. By doing this and having my elbows tucked in, I'll be maximizing the engagement of my lats and my anterior deltoids, giving me a great base to push from, and will provide me the power I need to push the bar off my chest. So now let's move on and talk about elbow flare. Now, do not get this twisted. Elbow flare is good to a point. You don't want to be looking like a T while you're bench pressing and have the bar right over your neck. That is not proper. The similarities between the elbow tuck and flare is that one thing does not change. The bar is over your elbows at all times. I have a line going through Julio's arm here to dictate that. Even as he's flaring his elbows out to press the bar to his face, he remains in line the entire time with the bar, wrist, and his elbow. And the reason we keep the bar over our elbows at all times is because we generate force through our elbow. For the next part, I'll be talking about bringing the bar back to the starting position. As you can see the lines I have on the screen, my starting position involves having the bar right over my shoulder joints and lowering it to about right under my chest and pushing it right back over the shoulder joints. This is just simply because if anyone's ever taken a 45-pound plate and just held it out in front of them, it's pretty hard to hold that plate straight in front of them for a long period of time. That is because the weight and gravity are working against you. It's bearing down on you. So going off of what I just said, we can also add that pushing the bar in a straight line up and down will also make pressing harder for you in the long run. Because essentially what you are doing is you're holding the bar in a static position. You're holding it away from the starting position for one if you're pushing it in a straight line up and down off your chest. And due to biomechanics, it's just a lot harder to hold the bar in that position when the weight is bearing down and essentially you're pushing it away from you. You can see in this clip of me about to press, I start with the bar right over my shoulder joints and upper back. I have the most stability from that position, and I can hold the bar for probably a good minute or two before my arms begin to get tired. Now, I challenge any one of you to hold the bar out and let it start dropping towards your legs and feet. You will not be able to hold the bar for as long as you would like to, as compared to if you were just holding it over your upper back and shoulder joints. Now to talk a little bit about retracting the scapula, you can see in the video right here I really emphasize rolling my shoulders back and digging my traps into the bench press. Now the reason I'm doing that is so that my chest can bear most of the load of the weight that I'm doing. Our shoulder joints have the most range of motion out of any joint in our body. If we don't roll them back and get them nice and tight and just leave them hanging there, over time they will begin to suffer from nagging injuries. And you guys, maintaining good stability during a lift is key to avoiding injury. So just retract that scapula, maintain a nice tight upper back and great stability, and we'll avoid some shoulder injuries. And another quick overlooked thing about having a good retracted scapula is that you are shortening the range of motion. And the range of motion is shorter simply because, as you can see as I'm setting up for this 305-pound press, my chest is extremely puffed out and I have a slight arch. So that probably shaves off a couple inches of motion that the bar does not have to travel. That is less work and less force that I have to put into moving that amount of weight. So those are my top 3 tips, and while I'm showing this close grip bench press footage, I'll talk about one more little thing that coincides with all three of these, and then I'm going to tie them all together and show you how they all tie in together to form a perfect press, so to say. So as I talked about earlier in the video, you want the bar to be over your wrist and your elbow joint at all times. Now, during the eccentric portion of the press, you always want your arms to fall into a perpendicular angle. And by perpendicular angle, I mean that as you watch Julio press here, at the bottom of the eccentric portion, his shoulders, elbow, and wrist make a perpendicular angle, a 90-degree angle, so to say, with the elbow being the corner of that angle. Now, at no point during my press do I want my arms to turn into an acute angle. I want to be in that stacked position in that perpendicular angle at all times. And what I mean by acute angle is if my wrist begins to fall closer to my shoulder joint. If my wrist begins to fall closer to my shoulder joint, that's just less force I'm going to be able to output in pressing the bar. Now, I also do not want to form an obtuse angle with my arms. Yes, obviously, I have to get extension in my arms to bring the bar back up. But like I said, I want the bar coming back to my face, back to the starting position. I do not want to be extending the bar away from my body, and that is also what happens when you press the bar in a straight line. So let's begin wrapping this video up. Like I mentioned earlier, I find these three tips to be very, very useful simply because they all coincide together very well. So let's talk about these. We can start with the scapular retraction, as I retract my scapula back and bring my shoulder blades together and get tight on the bench. That's giving me a good base and platform to press from. Now, as I start the movement and begin to bring the bar to my chest, I already have that strong base and platform for my scapula being retracted. If I have my elbows tucked and I'm bringing the bar down to wherever my arms need to be to meet that perpendicular angle I spoke about, as it touches my chest, I will now be fully activating my lats and anterior delts, and I'll be extremely tight, and I'm going to have a really good base to push from. It's going to be like a springboard coming off of my chest. And right off the bottom, I will begin using my elbow flare, keeping my elbows under the bar at all times and driving the bar straight back over my face, where I am the strongest at the starting position of the movement. I am the strongest and most stable at the starting position of the movement, and that's where I'm working to put the bar and move it back. So those are my pressing tips for the day, and I really hope that everyone was able to gather some good pieces of information from this. A lot of these pieces of information are it's pretty common knowledge among advanced lifters. But for most beginner and novices, a lot of these tips that I've given might be foreign and people might not even think of them to be a factor. And I always used to be a decent presser. I never was really that strong of a presser until I really started nailing these three key factors down. And now at 185 pounds, I have roughly a 305 pound bench press. I'm shooting for 315 by the end of the year, which seems to be in sight. But I just want to give two major shout outs before this video ends to Jacob and Julio. Julio for buying me this new microphone so I don't have a trash one, and Jacob for recommending me the Canon Vixa camera that I bought for recording, so I'll be able to give you guys some high quality commentary and high quality audio videos, and there will be more to come soon. I hope you all enjoyed this video and got a lot out of it. Thank you for watching, and keep updated, like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you, everyone.